Welcome to Still Plays Galaxy of Heroes. This is Grand Arena, the first match of Season 42. And we begin this season in Kyber 2 after maintaining a streak for 5 straight seasons of Kyber 2 brackets with only 3 GLs. But that is over. We are starting a new streak because I don't have 3 GLs anymore. We are now a 4 GL account. We will see how I handle things moving forward because I like the challenge of punching up. I like to have less and see what we can do. But with Leia on the horizon and the importance of raids, I'm probably going to be pushing for GLs on this account a lot more than I have in the past. And I don't know how I feel about it. But we'll see what happens. This match, though, we've got an interesting situation here. My opponent, Tyrannosaurus here, he is not, this account's not in my guild, but he is in my guild chat. So he might have an alt in my guild, or maybe he used to be in the guild and has moved on to a different one, but is still within the Discord. So I don't know the exact specifics, but we anticipated this match and we decided to play it a little bit differently. He proposed that we play without GLs. So we're going to go through that challenge, which isn't too out of my area of comfort because I've played a lot of matches where I just choose not to. But despite all that, it doesn't really matter. This guy's account is pretty excellent, and he has Third Sister, who is a legal play in this match. So looking at this bracket, brief overview. This is a pretty solid bracket. It's mostly 7 GL players. There's 2 6 GL players and 2 4 GL players. My opponent has 17 Omicrons, which I'm a little surprised by because he has so much of everything else. With the rest of the Omicrons, there's 4 players with 16 Omis, so it's a pretty heavy Omi bracket. The relic depth, my opponent's, he's got the best stuff. He has the most relics. He has a deep roster. Most everyone here, though, is above 200. There's a few accounts that are below. The 4GL account is at 150, so quite a bit below. You can see my depth is one of my strongest portions of my roster. The relic distribution, this is another place where Tyrannosaurus here is just winning on every single metric. He's got the most tier 5s, he's got the most tier 7s, the tier 8s, tier 9s. Really strong relic game, mod-wise, and with the rest of these opponents, everyone else is in like that 40 range. I'm not too out of range, and I'm not in a danger zone with any count other than my opponent here. With the mods, this is a weak mod bracket for me. My opponent is there's a lot of players who have a top 25 average of over plus 26. My opponent isn't even the top account. I come in at, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm in 5th with the top 25 averages. With the top 500, that is a place where I do beat my opponent, but there's plenty of people in that 17 to 18 range. A couple of them are off screen. But with the counts, I'm solid here. I actually beat my opponent in the 20 plus and 15 plus counts. But there are some other players here, like Tenant here has some pretty excellent mods with 55, 25 plus mods. Overall, this is a very strong bracket with mods. Datacrons, this is another place where there's no help against my opponent, a little bit of help against some of the other players, but the big caveat here is those level 9 numbers for my account is very misleading because I can't actually use too many of them. A lot of the characters, especially a lot of the Sith characters, I don't have them at Relic 7 yet to actually utilize those Datacrons. We will soon, but it'll be during the life of the Datacrons, but maybe I'll have 1 or 2 of them for next week. We'll see at what rate things unfold. I'm still hunting around for a few, like the Sith Empire Trooper Datacron. And GLs, 1 player without Jabba. It's the 4GL player. He doesn't have Jabba. 2 of us, the 4GL accounts, are the ones without Lord Vader. 1 player without Sith Eternal Emperor, and for the first time, that is not me. 3 without Rey, and I am the only player without SLKR. Omicron-wise, my opponent is Relic 9 Malgus with 2 Amis. Everyone except for the 4 GL count, has at least a Relic 7 on Malgus. The Radduses are looking pretty good. Bunch of Idens. My opponent's actually the only one though with a Relic Iden, which is actually a little unusual. A lot of players have a Relic Iden these days. Starkiller, 2 Amis. One player in this bracket somehow does not have Starkiller. No Ami on Dash from my opponent, which is not too unusual, but a little bit of a surprise. Relic 5 on Wampa. This is something I've been seeing a lot. This is a pretty weak bracket with Wampas. Savage Ami, there's only one player without the Savage Ami. Traya, 3 players without Traya Omicron, which really, like, no one should be delaying the Traya Ami. Like, regardless of what level. You have a new account, but you have Traya Ami. It's fantastic. Aphras are half and half, and Swolo's 2 players not actively using Swolo, but if you've been watching how I play, everyone should be developing their Swolo. He's a great character. You can use him with your JTR, and he's still great. I'll probably use it in the match, we'll see. Zori here, my opponent's the only one. No, there are actually 2 Relic Zoris. A lot of people have ignored them, but anyone who has touched their Zori above Gear 8 has thrown an Ami on it. 3 Third Sisters in this bracket, which is part of the impetus of getting a character like Sith Eternal Emperors to help build out some of those counters. And then Captain Rex is on here now, and I am the only... No, there are 3 Gear 11 Rexes. Nobody has the Omicron. I'm considering it. I think I am going to put it on for next week. I just wanted to see what he looks like without it. So we will be doing a lot of testing in this match. The Mauls are fine. My opponent does have Jedi Knight Cal Kestis. He's the only one with Cal Kestis. And there is surprisingly 1 player with... No, 3 players without a Profundity. That's very unusual. You can see Leviathan's already in here because I'm recording at a different point. I had to, because of work, I recorded the matches. We're gonna do we're gonna record audio over the footage, because that's why we can see that the Leviathan, a couple players in this bracket have Leviathan, but obviously not active in the bracket. And we'll move on. Now, looking at the quality of the modding, this is a place where I do actually do all right. So we jump in here. I think it was 27. So we're going to organize this by speed. We can look at how many characters above 300 speed. And we got 15, 20, 25, yeah, and about 27, I believe, because the final character is gas. So there's 27 characters modded at 300 speed or higher. Grand Inquisitor is just lagging behind slightly. So he attacks first. And again, we're talking over footage here. I was not able to record this live. But it was a fun match. Still a tough defense. You could see how we did here. We got a couple holds though. We trapped him with the Maul team, which looks easier than it is. Although it does have some cheap counters. And then here with Sana getting a surprise hold. I wouldn't have thought so. That team's really more filler for me. Until there's relics on Stormtrooper Han, I don't really think that team works as it's supposed to. And it doesn't have the Datacron anymore. So he's got Tuskens, Qui-Gon, we got Cere, Junda, and Trench. Down below, though, we've got Third Sister, Gas, Krrsantan Lead, and Malgus. And with this, it's still a pretty tough defense. We have to resort to Gas, as we do. I'm going to transition to the big screen. Gas is just... We kind of have to. We don't have a lot of other options up against Malgus, especially without using Galactic Legends for this round. But this is going to get tougher and tougher as time goes on. As everyone, as they work on the Leviathan, there's going to just be more relics around on this squad. And as we go through this version, this is a solid version. Double check audio and everything, make sure we're good. But we're standing up a good amount of time. We were able to absorb the shock from Bastila Fallen before we crouched, which is huge. Because if he crouches before that happens, then it can do some serious damage to the clones. It's part of the reason why this combo of characters I always say is the tougher versions. The versions where players try to separate their Malgus from their Darth Revan, that's where I think things become much easier. But here we're still standing, and we're about to stand up, and only losing the 5 sacrifice, which is fantastic. That's ideal scenario. Malik is down. Now we can go after Fallen and get rid of Corrupted Battle Meditation. And from there, this is going to be a pretty solid win. Sometimes I try to click on a character when Gas is cycling through his specials if he takes out somebody with the first hit. Revan there goes down. Marauder, easy one from here. Always saving tenacity up for the crouch so we can have more opportunity to get Gas to stand up quick. And from here, we can auto. But the reason why you don't want to use Gas is because this is almost always a low banner counter. Jedi Knight Cal Kestis, though, should solve that. I haven't checked out any footage yet. There should probably be some good Cal Kestis footage now. We were a couple matches in. Now, Gas... Okay, I think I remember this. I shouldn't have played this the way that I did, but this is how I play it. I go with Grand Inquisitor. Without the Datacrons, this isn't the same. You'd think it would be a strong counter. It's just not. And I opt to throw Foresight down, and I probably should have went with the other ability to remove some turn meter. And we're working on this. They've got provoked. We throw down the Torture. But having to heal at this point would probably be in my interest. Get a little bit of protection up, not a meaningful amount. They're also just cleansing the Purge really quickly, which is tough. And then here, oh, this is the mistake I made. I just wasn't thinking, and I attacked Rex. Instead of, that's why I lost this. This would have been fine, but yeah, in the moment, it was late. Or no, it wasn't late. I was playing I was trying to fit this in during my workday, which is why I didn't record it live. And in that moment, I wasn't thinking, trying to do it quick, and messed up. And from there, it's a lost match. We were fortunate to have healing immunity on Rex when the sacrifice happened because we were at least able to take him out, but now I'm forced into cleaning this up when it probably wouldn't have been necessary. And I'm just hoping to get take another character out. We get down to the crouch, but here it's over. Just sloppy play. Playing with distractions can be hard. Now, with Third Sister, Raddus doesn't beat this, but it does set you up for two-shotting it. And I considered bringing in a different Rebel character to use a Datacron. But now that with all these new characters, dividing up all these Rebel characters is not... You don't have as much flexibility anymore. Because I could have put Hera there, but I want Hera for Captain Rex. That's what I would have done before. And some of the other characters are going to different Rebel fighter squads. So I just went with Datacron-less. And none of this works the way that I would have been hoping. But we still have a second attempt. We were always planning to go with 2 attempts. But usually what this does is take out somebody, especially if you can get to the download, which we don't. But with the second attempt here, using the second squad, I wonder how this would have gone on a first attempt. Now, do I do it now or do I do it in a moment? Yeah, so with the second attempt here, we're going to go with Sith, but I don't have relics on these characters. So we're doing the Sith trio, all at gear 12. We do have the Ami. We're throwing down Savage, and we're bringing in Sith Empire Trooper. This is a good squad at relics. Like, obviously it's a good squad, but in terms of going up against Third Sister, it is a squad that can beat it in the first attempt. But I got gear 12. But this is going to go well enough where I wonder, is it because the cooldowns were messed up, that some protection was gone, the turn meter was all different, so it set me up well, or is it a thing where maybe there is some punch-up opportunities with it? Because this is going great. Now we have our AoE that takes out 7th Sister. We're set up for Annihilate. We just got to get there. We get held by Hatred. Now they are targeting Savage more than they are targeting Traya, which was an option. We bring down Third Sister. And now it's 1. Like... It's to the point where I really do wonder how it would have been on the first attempt. And actually, I'm recording this just before I do the battles in match 3, the final match of the week, where there's another Third Sister battle. And I think I might just do it first and see what happens. But generally, what you see from the data, it's high relic Trayas that win. So we got to find out. Now with these next matches, we head up above where we got Trench and Cere, Junda, Qui-Gon, and over here was it? I think Troopers. Yeah, Troopers is what we are going to go in with. I think I play this wrong because Troopers can work. The issue here is this team is different. There is no Watt, and there is a Grievous, and you see right here, I go for Dooku. I think that's where I messed up. I should have gone after Grievous. Because here, now that we have fear on everybody, turn meter and little things are messed up, we take out Grievous, but Grievous already did a lot of damage, and what it ultimately did was messed up our opportunities to get the stacking from Emperor's Trap to get a train going. Because taking out Dooku meant triggering Grievous and triggering the train. I targeted Stark there because we are out of stacks on Dark Trooper, and he's stunned, so we can't replenish it. And now we lose Dark Trooper. He's a character I need to add relics to anyway. And I feel like we probably, maybe we couldn't have won it, but we had a much better chance to win it if we would have targeted Grievous first. So at this point, we are now matched up with my opponent in terms of holds. Any further holds means I can't win the match, which was unlikely to begin with. So it's a thing where we're going to shift into a testing zone pretty soon, because there's a lot of new things that we want to test out. But we're going to go Starkiller first here, because there are certain squads that using some of these new Marquee characters makes no sense. Cere is one of them. Cere is just a crazy good character and really needs to be respected. So we bring in Starkiller, because this is a good counter up against it. Spreading some debuffs around. Hitting some staggers. Take a big hit from Cere Junda. Unleashed. And from here, we can knock out these bodies real quick. Just dispelling that damage immunity. Easy. See, what I should have done, well, we're going to have to clean up that gas team, but we also have that Qui-Gon team. I should have, well, it would have still been the best route. We could have just CLS'd the gas. I think I just forgot CLS was on defense, or on offense, because usually in 3v3 is on defense. Because if we would have gassed, or CLS the gas, we would have just Grand Inquisitor the Qui-Gon. Dr. Aphra here is going to be a strong counter up against whatever we're about to do. Oh, Tuskens, yeah. The Tuskens team was on his history. I still looked at his history to get a general idea, even though we were playing it differently. But it's one where it's a team that has lost the Datacron, and the Datacron, or has it not lost the Datacron? I think it was the Tusken Datacron, I think, is gone now. I think that's part of the last set. And that's what he had been using before. This is a good squad, though, regardless, especially with everything at Relics. But with the Datacron, Aphra beats it. So without, she's definitely going to win. It might be even a squad I'd start putting on defense. Mine's gear 12, but I don't really use them on offense all that often. I do it more just to showcase what they look like, but I think we're at a point now where they can just move to defense. I think I will. I think that's a good idea. Now here I'm doing Jedi Knight Revan, but again, Grand Inquisitor should have been how I played this, but I didn't see all the chess moves in advance. Because that's what distracted play does. And I think this went poorly. I don't remember how this went exactly. Yeah, okay. So Anakin blows me up, takes out my... Yeah, this went poorly. So this is all just trying to figure out when do I want to use the revive. And I tried to save it, and Anakin took out my Jolie. Might be time to even add relics to Jilly, because all these other characters are better. Datacrons are better, different Datacrons. Really, all I want though is to take out Anakin. We accomplished that. We've got an easy cleanup now. I just got to choose who I want to pick apart next. But that's all the progress we're going to make. Oh, Krrsantan here. How did I play this? Did I Grievous? Yeah. This works out fine. Takes a little bit of time, but it's a pretty strong counter. I did Bosch lead, where like we both just, our Jabbas were typically on defense, playing no GL. We removed the Jabba. He just swapped in Krrsantan lead. I switched mine to Bosch lead. Drive some turn meter. Heal up our IG. Throw down some healing immunity on Krrsantan. Make a little bit of progress, but really we got to get rid of more damage. But now that we got Taunt off, we can focus on some of these other bodies. Bosch is gone, who's really the most important one here. And now we are basically done. And they can't get payout because Krrsantan needs to take out the leader, I believe. And that it's something where defensively, when you have, if you put bounty hunters on defense, you should at least put down a leader with a contract that it'd be almost impossible for them not to get to the payout. That's kind of the nice part of certain characters, like Bosk obviously, or Django. They very easily will get to contract, but Orsing, some even like Greedo's a little wonkier. But there's a number of bounty hunters where they'll just almost by default get the contract off. Yeah. Now here's how we clean up gas, which would have won in a first attempt. I just forgot I had it. Because these days I'm very off. Well, maybe it's just because of 3v3. It's the first match after 3v3. Because ever since the Chupiokron, I've been using it on offense. In 5v5. Alright, we've got Sana, Geos, and that last one is Sortie. Which also used to have a Datacron, which expired last set. We're going to do our Captain Rex testing here up against Sana. And it's just, we had to choose one of the teams. And this is where I choose to test it. No Omicron, only one Zeta on Captain Rex. I left off the cooldown one. But we don't even survive the opening salvo. I do think I am going to put that Omicron on next week. So this is the only footage we're going to get in Grand Arena of no Omicron Captain Rex. But I'm not adding gear. So it's something where we'll be able to see his punch-up opportunities with Omicron starting next week. We're going to do our Princess Kneesaa testing here up against the Geos. And I do think Captain Rex would have been better up against the Geos, but I think Princess Kneesaa would have been pretty awful up against Sana, so that's why I played it the way we did. But we lose Chirpa right off the bat. just looking at these options, which are not very good. And I think there's very little opportunity so far for Kneesaa to punch up. I forget if she had a Grand Arena Cron or not. I forget what her... I think she had a Territory War Cron, didn't she? I don't recall. I'll look it up later. But I was hoping to at least see, I don't know, like a little survivability or something from her, where she could just help them take a hit. Like, that's what's so nice about Tarfful is the Wookiees can take a real hit now. It's what's nice about Cere Junda here. Like, this squad can take a lot of damage. Cere Junda's pretty awesome. Normally I'd want to use Kylo Ren on Mask, but he's on defense. I forgot to take him off. Ben forgetting to do that. Malgus, I think I'm going to throw in that Scav Ray spot. Because Scav Ray, I mean, if you ever at Relics, fine, but she doesn't do that much other than get her damage stacking quickly. Malgus is obviously going to do a lot. Fulcrum is just pretty good in this squad. Even though we're lost during this battle. So we can't target who we want, so we're going after Sunfac. At least reduces the health pool a little bit. I am going to keep these characters at Gear 12 until we get the Cal Kestis event, so I can capture the footage for that video series that I haven't made a new episode of in a long time. We AoE, get some protection up, and you can just see the stacking damage coming from Kylo Ren Unmasked. How he's doing more and more damage every time he goes for Outrage. Get another big hit. Oh, I'd opt not to do it. Okay. Awesome. Yeah, Geos, they aren't what they used to be. For me, they're like a cleanup team. Now, Sortie and Sana, we still have Wookiees to test. I might even do it right here. Yep. I'm going for the squad. Do I go? Okay, no squad selector. So we go for mission. I like the synergy between Zelbar and mission. It helps with the taunting, and mission's better on offense. We're gonna dispel first, so we go with the second special, or cleanse as I call it. Lose mission, which is unfortunate. But you can say, like, these are Gear 12 characters. Well, there's some Gear 11 characters too, but it's mostly, I guess at this point it's 2 Gear 11 and 2 Gear 12. And we're going up against this stat boosted Sortie squad, and they're taking some hits. Like, I'm happy with this. And over time, the damage is going to increase. Like, that AoE ability there is like the biggest damage on the field. T3M4's got a good ability too, but we're taking that hit, and our defense is going to be stacking throughout this as well. Cleanse up again, get some more boosting stats. T3M4's taking the hits. So at this point, a lot of their major attack abilities are on cooldown, which hopefully will buy me enough time to heal up and stack some stats a little bit more. Clone Wars Chewie is definitely a weak link. just barely survived that hit. And right there, it falls apart. So we don't do offensively any damage, but they do survive a while defensively. The survivability is there. It's why this team is clearly going to be very good at relics. It's just they have limited offensive upside in terms of their punching up opportunities below relics. The Vandor relic is also the one I would want the most. This is one of those luxury relics I keep putting off. Now we're going to try out Merrin. Merrin's another character I want to throw that Omicron on, and we don't have Ventress because obviously Ventress is with Trench. I don't... There's reasons for it. I talk about it in other videos because I've already recorded some other footage. The quick version is I've got the Jango Kron. I want Jango with Maul because I don't want to make my Maul team worse. Because I have 4 GLs now. As of this Grand Arena, I have 4 GLs. And Maul is very important. When you have that few GLs and you're going up against opponents with 7 GLs, you need to have more of everything else. And making my Maul team weaker is not something I really want to do, especially when the Trench squad has a limited ceiling. So with Trench, I'm happy to leave Jango off of it, use Ventress in that slot, because obviously Trench is better with Jango, but it's not that much better. Trench is not that tough of a team in Grand Arena, even with the Kron. So I opt to go for 2 separate pretty good teams instead of like ideal versions. And plus you saw that my Maul squad got the hold, which would not have happened without that Jango Kron, probably. But here you can kind of see the promise of Merrin. Like if Ventress was here, this is probably a win. Or, yeah, I think this is probably a win with Ventress, and maybe even the Merrin Kron. Like we take out one of the droids, we take out L3, spare parts is gone, but we just don't land a ton of plague, and we would be getting a lot more plague and also a lot more turns with that Omicron on Merrin. And now we're running pretty low on time. Got to deal with that taunt. Now we can basically... there'd be another 1 or 2 plagues on R2 from that hit. Now we got to make a choice between T3M4, Sortie, and BB-8. BB-8's kind of the one who's being the most annoying right now, but Sortie's the one who makes all this work. So I'm making choices. Very low on time, but you can see we're winning. It's time is the concern. They're healing a decent amount. We lose some bodies and friends. And you can see, had we had more clock, I'd probably win this. Or if we were using... definitely with the Omicron, I think we probably would have got a win. And with Ventress, we would have got a win. Because with Ventress, we can clear those buffs. The Dispel would have made a major difference. So the promise of Merrin is there, but she's 6 stars right now, so we don't have the Gear 12 ability and no Omicron. Next week, though, you will see the Omicron in action. I'm going to put that one on. Now we throw Bad Batch in against Sana. This is one of those stronger counters, but a lot of it is usually with Relic Bad Batch. I'm using Gear 12 Bad Batch, but this is one of those squads up against one of those teams where as long as you've got the speed advantage, Bad Batch are going to crush it, and that's what we see here. Yep. So strong counter. Now we got cleanups to do, or a couple more. I think some very interesting testing though. Even though like Kneesaa and Captain Rex, those lost in a very decisive fashion, it's still very informative because it allows us to understand where those characters stand, what kind of teams potentially should I be throwing them up against. Kneesaa AoEs and big burst damage looks like is going to be pretty poor. Usually one of the squads I like to test a lot of these marquee characters up against is Mon Mothma, because Mon Mothma, with all of those assists and attacks out of turns, it's reduced damage. So there's a little bit more opportunity there for newer characters and 3-star characters, low gear characters, to showcase their kits a little bit more. And from there you can go look for other teams. Like First Order, I tend to do a little bit of testing too if I see them. But Jedi Knight Luke should be crushing this. Bursting through Django. There's still a lot of clock left in this match, even though we're mostly done with the squad battles. Which I'm not sure how. I don't think I took that much time in fleets. So bringing Sortie here. This is traditionally my cleanup on these Jedi teams. It's usually pretty effective. I don't think this works though. And it's probably because of Barriss. Barriss does complicate things a bit. Because I don't have relics on a lot of these characters. Well, I got relics on Sortie now, which I didn't, but the most important relic is T3, M4. I've got both Zetas on T3, but one of those Zetas really only works at relics. It's the armor and defense penetration. T3 just barely has any armor and defense penetration below relics. It's really an interesting Zeta, because when that Zeta was added, relics weren't a thing. So it's just, it's like, how do you create this thing where you barely are giving any of those kinds of stats? Because what the Zeta does is it grants the armor penetration from T3 M4 and gives it to the other droid characters. Or no, or it does a couple. Yes, it does something like that. And below relics, he barely has any to grant to other characters. There's a little, but not an amount that would be worthy of a Zeta. But L3 I think is gear 11, BB-8's gear 12, IPD's gear 11. And this just goes very poorly. Usually this works though. I think it's Barriss who's the biggest contributor here of this going not my way. And really I should be forfeiting at this point. I don't know why I'm still playing. because nothing's changed. Yeah, so we got our cleanups. I think I'm just going to go into this and be done with it. So we JTR Swolo. We probably should undersize it, but it looks like I'm bringing in some bodies. Grab the Swolo Cron, which doesn't do too much, but we've got it. T3M4 has a lot of stat share with the other Zeta, the Combat Logic Upgrade Zeta, so taking him out. Spare parts is gone, and the Foresight was on T3, so we hit Sortie for an attack. Because the Omicron allows me to ignore protection, and Sortie had more damage, that's why I hit Sortie there. Or Sortie was below 100% health. But we've got a big hit coming from what's-his-face in a minute. Get a solid hit. Blow him up and we're basically done. If you don't have Ray and you have Swolo, this is how you should use your Swolo. They're great together. If you regularly watch my matches, you see me use it all the time, particularly up against Maul. Doesn't always work, but it works often enough. I do think I need to change his mods though. I think I need to up the crit damage and crit chance. Right now he's modded for offense. Because I think that's what most people do. I don't think it's what should be done, at least the way I use him. Yeah. This will be quick. And there we go. Now we got our fleets. And here we're looking at Negotiator, Sith, and the triple attacker Executor. And now with Sith, we're able to test out the resistance. You've seen the footage now with the Leviathan, but this was always my best bet to be the counter. Now the Leviathan, obviously people are upset and disappointed with it. Considering the cost and expense, that makes a lot of sense. I still am holding out that there's going to be a number of changes. I mean, we've already got one post from CG, but I'm holding my outrage until we see how this fleet looks once all the tweaks are done. Once CG has put this in like its final or near final form. But regardless, like right now the most disappointing thing is that Profundity beats it. Which I'm pretty surprised by. At least on offense it beats it, but even after any changes, this is the team that I think is going to be our near-term counter. We had a video on it. There's just a lot of reasons why this fleet made the most sense to me as being the counter. But what we see here, though, is why I probably am going to need to bring some of these pilots to relics. Because even though a lot of the mechanics are there, this is working, this is also how you should use your clone sergeant, and at least until we get another pilot, tank pilot. But what this does do is put you in a position where you can get the ultimate off with the Raddus, take out the Leviathan, if it were the Leviathan. It's the endurance here, but if it were the Leviathan, you'd be set up ideally for a cleanup. I'm going after the bomber, but maybe I should be going after one of these other ships. It's just, you know, he's gonna taunt, so what's the point? Yeah. We absorb even like a good amount of damage too. Just offensively we don't really do enough, and we lose some key ships a little early. And a number of those pilots are gear 11 right now. I'll be taking them up to gear 12 as I can. The problem is a lot of those resistance characters require back to gel, the Mark IV back to gel, to get to gear 12, and that's still a pricey piece, or at least a relatively pricey piece. So you don't want to be too reckless spending it. Malevolence, triple attacker, this you can beat in a first attempt. The key part here is to just go after IG-88. Now we take out 88. Throw down some more buzz droids, but we lose our buddy. Bring out spy, mark, hit those buzz droids. I do basic, I probably should have AoE'd, but I was hoping it wouldn't have been necessary, so we would have had it off cooldown for the next attack. Like right here is why I did that, and it kind of pays off. It allows us to take out Cad Bane, and otherwise we probably wouldn't have taken out Cad Bane. The contract's already been triggered, so Ebon Hawk is useless at this point. That's why we bring out Soldier. Ebon Hawk's only job is to prevent the contract, because it will stop the target lock. I'm just trying to get to the ultimate before he does, and because we have controlled the ships a lot, at least the breach a lot, we do get there. I should have done the AoE. I don't know why I did that. Well, I guess because I only had one ship left. Not necessary, but I guess that's what I was thinking. So we take it down in one, which is great. Now we got Chimera still for the negotiator, and then we got to just clean up that Sith fleet. I don't know why I'm deliberating. Probably because I wasn't paying attention. Oh, I think I wanted to show this. I know why. I think I know why. I think I know what I'm thinking. No, okay. I thought maybe I was going to test out the Sith fleet. But we do Chimera here. This is a very strong counter, nothing to be concerned about. I'm gonna heal up a little bit. That worked out perfectly. Take out Anakin quick. Now I want to deal with this tank. And now they've got no way to win. Defender doesn't need to be in this lineup. It'd probably be better with the Scythe, especially with certain counters, definitely. Well, not definitely, because if I was doing Chimera up against the Executor, that's not the case. You'd bring out the Defender first, which is why he's here, but I don't know, it just kind of depends on how you want to play out these ships. Now we bring out the Scythe. We're not going to do any Sith on Sith action, so I don't think. Going no tank on the Executrix. Right? Yeah. Get rid of the debuffs, and now we just get to work. He's got no reinforcements, so it's just going to stay this 3-on-5 match. We can land the buff immunity, and right now we got to stay focused over on the bomber, but eventually it'll get a little better. Dagger's the easiest one to take out, so we're going to go for a dagger. Get rid of the daze through the protection. And that eliminates the dagger. Now I want to eliminate... I probably should have threw the... Yeah, I definitely should have thrown the buff immunity on the bomber. Because now we got to deal with this situation, which isn't ideal. It's not going to change anything, but now we're wasting time. And we don't even get the buff immunity that time. It's one tanky ship. I wonder if his Marauder's even higher in relics, because this guy's roster is fantastic. And from here we just auto. It's still super tanky. I do not feel like mine is this tanky. But we get through it and we are done. Takes us a lot more work, but I'm pretty happy with that full clear. And we were able to do a lot of testing. It definitely drops the banner total, but it's not something I care about. So with that, we'll be back in some future matchups. Congrats to Tyrannosaurus. Well played, and that was a fun match. I'm glad he proposed no Galactic Legend so we could try that out and have a little bit of fun with it. And right now, as I'm recording this, it's Sunday. There's a lot more videos on the way. I got to get out all these other Grand Arena videos, record the current match. The Grand Arena chat, the return of that has just happened between Glurmit and I. The second episode is up, and third episode is already recorded and will be coming out later this week. So be on the lookout for that. Thank you for watching. Be excellent to each other, everyone. This is Still Plays Galaxy of Heroes.